You know, he's really he's shameless in intellectual argument. He's absolutely without character, a moral foundation, or even intellectual substance.
All right, welcome back to Getting Lit. Last time we talked about Alfred Besta's The Stars of My Destination with my friend Eric. And today we are talking about The Creative Gene, a book by Mr. Hideo Kojima. And I thought who better to welcome onto the show to talk about Kojima is a self-confessed Kojima dick rider. It's Sam from the Third Place podcast. Welcome, Sam.
Hello, thank you for having me on. Yes, I am Kojima's biggest dick sucker in this Twitter sphere. Probably, I wouldn't say maybe in the grand Metal Gear fandom. I mean, there's a Kojima-centered podcast. They're not good.
Oh, no. Which one are you talking about? Because that's one of the ones I listened to for like some extra research.
I think it's the Kojima Frequency or something.
Oh, so bad. Sorry if you're listening, but it's so bad. And then I listened to another one that was really bad as well, that like they spent like 5 minutes talking about his games, and then the rest of it was just like getting pissed off about his portrayal of women. Like Quiet and stuff, like
every Quiet has made more people mad than any character that man has ever made, and I love it. I remember that too. I remember when MGS5 was coming out and her character was revealed, and people are just like, "What is that? Why is she in a bikini? And why is her like leggings ripped?" And the best
Kojima's response, the
best quote is like, "When you play the game and you find out her story, then you'll understand." It's like, I mean, it's true.
What is it? No, he says it like it's really weird.
You'll feel bad. You'll feel bad.
You'll learn harsh truths or something like that.
I mean, you know, the man wasn't lying. Quiet has a pretty sad story, but you know, it's just like him trying to navigate the new landscape at the time of like moralists, woke moralists being mad about scantily clad women.
And I think even they are sort of like at a stage where they're just like, oh, you know, it's Kojima, so you can't be too mad at him, you know?
Yeah, no, you can't. And it's funny how he has kind of deflected that there's those people still exist, obviously, but like no one can stay mad at the man because he literally just makes good shit. Like he, you know, like,
and he's so cute and pure.
Yeah, he's adorable. Everyone should follow both his Twitters, both his English and his Japanese one. They're basically the same thing. But he's just like, here's the song I'm listening to. Here's what I did today. Here's a picture of me with Lea Seydoux. Here's a picture of me with Norman Reedus. Here's a picture of me with Guillermo del Toro. And then it's like, and then also another account to follow is his like, his assistant. I forgot her name, but she also posts pictures of him. And today was him just like with a little Starbucks cup.
Aww.
It's like Kojima's a sponsor of gay Starbucks.
He's just like a little puppy because like if you saw that in like any other sort of like writer or I don't know, any other kind of personality really, just like constantly posting photos with like celebrities and stuff, you'd just be like, what the fuck is going on? Like this guy's cringe, but you just can't. Sam's showing me the photo of him with the Starbucks cup. It's very cute.
He just looks puzzled.
But yeah, Sam, you host the wonderful The Third Place podcast, which is a podcast all about video games. And it is actually one of my must listens. I always I see it in my feed and I like play almost immediately every time it comes up. And I think one of the I've actually been searching for like a good video games podcast, you know, like because a lot of them are so well, I've described some before with the Kojima ones, but a lot of them are sort of very narrow in their concerns. So it's either about narratives, or it's about mechanics, or you know, gameplay sort of stuff, and it's also very narrow in terms of genres and things like that. It's like pretty much a lot of them do just RPGs or first person shooters, like AAA stuff. But what I really love about you is that you aren't in that kind of narrow lane. Like, you'll look at something like an indie game like Journey or Katamari, that we were talking about before, as well as the sort of bigger things, and not in this kind of sneering, annoying, overly critical way, but in a way that is like, you know, you're an aficionado, but you kind of bring that perspective with sort of a kind of universal taste, which I find is very, very appealing.
Oh, well, thank you so much. It's very kind of you. Yeah, I mean, as I've said before, video games have been my bread and butter since I've been like 6 or 7. Like, I mean, granted, like most boys and guys can all relate to that, where it's just like, yeah, that was like our favorite thing to do. But for me, it just became like, you know, I had to learn more because it kept fascinating me, because it's like everything you play is something new, and the games are very freeing free and interesting, because there really can be a whole unique experience per game, whether it be from mechanics to story to atmosphere to, you know, all sorts of things. I mean, you can go from something like, you know, something like your Final Fantasy, but then you can go down the rabbit hole per se, and you can find like, you know, PS1 Japanese exclusive games that are all about turning your CD music into rhythm game levels. Like, there is a literal ocean to experience with the industry. And, you know, once I discovered the internet, it was over for the hose, so to say. Because then you learn, it's like, oh, wow, there's like places that have like games dedicated, you know, learning about the news, stuff that's coming out, or you get to hear internet personalities talk about it, or you have websites that are just literally got web games, and you learn about all these like new and interesting people making things. And it just, you know, for me, it just kind of snowballed. And at a certain point, I was just like, I have to do something on my own, where it's like, I have to get all these thoughts out of my head, or I'm going to go crazy. Because I love the medium so much. Like, I can play anything for the most part and be like, I get what they're trying to do. Or I try to figure out what they're trying to accomplish. And I think in the modern day of game criticism, game discussions, we have to talk about the story. We have to talk about the gameplay. We have to talk about the graphic. You know, it's very, like you said, it's very narrow. You know, there's no room for like just tangenting on something that you feel, something that is, you know, or it brings out of you, or just something that surrounds the game, you know, outside of the literal ones and zeros and lines of code that power this, you know, this CD-ROM or cartridge. Like I talked on my most recent episode, Mario 64, it's like there's a certain beauty of that game that surrounds it, where it feels so like kind of just like this place of imagination where the confines of reality don't matter, as long as, and it just kind of creates this beautiful serenity experience. And I hope hopefully my goal with the show for anyone who listens is like to just either you look fondly back on the stuff you loved, or maybe I get you back into it. You know, it's okay to play games. It's okay to enjoy yourself. It's okay to have fun. You know,
it's also good as well because I feel like a lot of games media, not just podcasts, are always up on like the current thing and technology and all of that sort of stuff. Like, they might kind of look back on something like Mario 64 and be like, oh, we could make this better now, and just not like, and not seeing the charms of that, when it arrived, and the kind of aesthetics of that, and like the kind of, like you said, the imaginative kind of influence there. But yeah, what I like about your show is that it's not just about the current thing. I don't mean that but the current thing as in like, here's the latest AAA that's been released. Let's talk about it. Like,
I've only done that once so far. And it was because
which one was that?
The Resident Evil 4 remake, which I felt like I had to do because I don't know if you've ever felt this, but it's like where you play something and you can't stop playing it, and your mind just kind of goes into overdrive about like why you love it. And I just had to get that out of there, and because it was like one of the most fun experiences I've had in the last five or so years. Anyone listening to the show, everyone should be playing Resident Evil 4 remake. It's legitimately one of the best games ever, probably the best remake ever. And it's for sure if I were to be like a standard game journalist right now, it's my front runner for game of the year of this year. Although the new Zelda came out and everyone's shitting themselves right now about that, I'm going to have to try that out at some point. The main takeaway that I get from that is everyone's building dick machines in that game, which is great. I love that there's a game made by Nintendo and that's what everyone did instinctually.
Building dick machines. How do you do that?
So there's a mechanic in the game where you can basically combine different objects to create something new. So like, in Nintendo's, clean and pristine image where there's nothing vulgar or anything in the world. They're just like, oh yeah, you can take this log and put 4 together and put a fan on it, and now you have a raft to craft across a river. But I just saw a video like 3 hours ago where someone just took a single log, put 2 fans on either side, and just as a dick and balls going across the river. I posted today, someone built a stick man out of logs, and he has a giant dick coming out, like shooting fire, and the thing explodes. And I just put a caption that says, "We've all been there, fellas." So I love when you like because this has happened so many times before, where it's like a game developer gives you tools to do something, create your own thing, and just like a good chunk of the population's like dick object. And it's just like, you have to wonder if the developers even thought that would happen. It's like, of course it's going to happen.
So where did this come from? Like, other than, you've got a deep and abiding passion for games, like what made you decide to enter the podcasting realm? Join the dark side, so to speak.
Well, for one, I had a lot of fun being a guest on other people's shows, like Zach's pod, Jack's pod.
I love that episode of Zach's. Is that where you did Resident Evil, didn't you? Like,
yes, yeah, we did Resident Evil. 2, Code Veronica, and 5, which are, I think about that night we did it together. It was so fun. I've been on Agitator to talk about games before. So I was just like, I'm having a lot of fun do this. And I think I'm getting points across well enough to people. So I was just like, and I've had mutuals before saying like, oh, you should do this. I was like, maybe. But after I gotten enough experience with podcasting, I was like, I can do this.
Yeah.
Because, I can ramble as evidence from my own show. I can talk for 3 hours about some random game. But I think I trusted my ability that I could get my points across about why I like something. And, I think, like you said, there's an absence of quality gaming podcasts. I only listen to one, and even then they interject it with like, we have to talk about late stage capitalism, guys. We have to talk about, we have to talk about unions. And it's like, why? Because like the way that show breaks it down is like the first half of the show is them talking about what they've been playing for the past week. And the second half is them recapping the week's news in gaming.
Oh.
And
like, glad you said in gaming, because it was just the week's news. I was like, what the fuck? But anyway.
Yeah, no, it would be, I would not listen if they, if they did CNN bullet points. But, like, I'm just like, just talk about games. Like, if you're going to talk about the news, like, just like talk about that. Like, don't like bring in your own like stupid politics into it. Like,
do you think these people do that because they don't actually know how to talk about games? Like, I found
these guys do. They're actually pretty smart. Like, a lot of their opinions, most of the time, I don't agree with them all the time, but they have very good opinions about games. It's just like, it comes across as the guys, that type of guy who thinks like the nerdy guy who like, like when I was in middle school, I had a friend who was like this kind of, where it's just like, I watched The Daily Show and therefore I'm smart sort of person. So these guys with the podcast I listen to, they give me that energy. It's like, well, I'm up to date with, progressive politics. So therefore I'm actually smarter than you. And therefore, if you ever were to doubt me, you're an idiot. And it's like, okay, like,
is this a gaming podcast still?
Yes, this is a game. Yeah, it's like I thought I was here for video games, not here to be lectured. And these accounts, these guys who run it, they have really large followings. Like one of them is like got like almost 100K followers, and even though their show is not like super super big, they're the type of podcast where they get Patreon supporters who will dump $50 to them. I'm just like, how? Like, because
how do we get those? How do we get those subscribers?
How do I get that number? But like, they're the only show that I feel like has something. There's something there, but like, it's just like when it's like they talk about like, here's this gaming company's sexual assault news of the week, and I'm just like, oh boy, fast forward. When do I get out of this hell? I'm just like, because they're gonna give you those opinions, those type of annoying opinions.
I do think that, like, with the exception, like you said, of this podcast you were listening to, that because games are actually relatively so new as an art form, or whatever you want to call it, that being able to talk about them is also relatively new. So like, not many people are going to be very good at it. You know what I mean? Like, because of its youth. Whereas, people have been talking about films and books and shit for, centuries now. So like, people have gotten used to going into depth in a kind of extended way that perhaps they don't quite know how to do that with games.
That's very true. Gaming as a medium really has only been around for 45 years, like in a commercial sense. Like if we can be more specific and be like, well, gaming technically was invented in like the early 70s, but it's like what we understand as the gaming medium really didn't take shape till like 1978. And the unique thing about game discussion is that it's almost inherently centered at least in the modern sense, it's very centered around visuals, like, because it's gameplay. Like you're trying to show the game off while you're talking about it to like reinforce your points. But you know, for me, I think what makes a gaming podcast more exciting is like there leaves a little bit of discovery for the listener. It's like without seeing a visual, you're going to be tempted to want to experience it for yourself, or maybe like look up a video on it or screenshots or whatever. The gaming discussion still, it's still young. It's very infested with the moment right now of the video essay, where it's people like putting on a character to talk about a thing like a game, and it's just like I'd rather you just be you and sharing your own reactions and not try to like fall in line with the general consensus type thing. Like whenever, like, I'm trying to think of like, also another thing about games is that it's also very comedic. Like discussions about games tend to be comedic.
Yeah, that's weird. Why is that? What are your theories, Sam?
That's a good one. I almost feel like it's a level of like deflecting any criticism of games themselves, because it's like for the long, like if you were to talk to your parents, if your parents are above the age of like 45, they're just going to see games as like the archaic things of the 80s. So I think if you were to present a character being over the top and ridiculous, like, well, that's just games. Well, games are silly and ridiculous. Like, it fits in line with the image that you know. So, like, you know, it does. You don't have to like, you don't have to carry the baggage of like games being kind of like this quirky little medium that for the longest time was a nerdy medium. Like, you know, looking at like the modern audience of games nowadays, it is not what it was prior to 2013. Like, it was mostly just like nerdy guys who were just like hyper into it. And so like if you play like an over the top character, it kind of just is like, well, you know, it's just like my friends, or something like that. Like one of the biggest people that one of the earliest video game discussion people who embodies this is the angry video game nerd, who I love. Don't get me wrong, because the guy behind the character, he's a genuinely nice guy, like very sweet. He's very creative, very insightful person, has his own beliefs, and really doesn't kind of bend his knee per se to like, you know, what people think of a product. He's like, I think it's this and that's that. But when people know him for being a profanity spewing, dress shirt wearing, pocket protector nerd with the big rim glasses, like when that's like the most iconic video game review guy for a long time, and he has like all these sort of spin-off people who are like trying to copy that, you know, I think it almost muddies the water about video game discussion.
Well, it's also because there's like you said, you know, people over 45 wouldn't really take games seriously as, I don't want to say, I keep saying art form, but like, whatever, I don't care. Like, I don't really want to wade into the discussion, video games art, but like, let's just say media form or whatever. Like, yeah, it's sort of not taken seriously because it's just like, you know, they're games. Literally, like, games are not to be taken seriously. They're frivolities. They're things you do in your leisure time to entertain yourself. So I think that attitude is generational. And I think maybe people will get better at talking about these things as those people die.
That might help. I mean, it's very interesting to see like generational breakdowns I think definitely millennials push the video games as art debate the hardest.
Yeah, because they have to justify the thing that they love or like or whatever in those terms. Like, oh, it's actually art, dude. Like, it's like, no, it doesn't have to be, and you can still enjoy it, you know?
Yeah, and I think it also coincide about the type of games that were coming out when they were younger. Like an older millennial was like 13, 14, 15 when something like Metal Gear Solid was coming out. So it's like, to them, in their formative years, games were starting to really get out there and experiment and get bigger stories, higher production value, blah, 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 blah. And I think for them, it literally is generational. It's like, I feel like, millennials, both old and young, like, I guess I'm considered a young millennial, late Zoomer. I don't know. I don't really know.
I'm the oldest millennial.
So I'm on the verge of 28. So I don't know what I am. I'm a loner, I guess. But I feel like the millennials definitely see the medium as an art form, because I feel like if you talk to a Zoomer, they're not going to understand a single thing.
Well, they don't even know what art is, so.
No, yeah, true. It's like, I work with a Zoomer who plays just Call of Duty, and I'm like, interesting. And then, which was funny because he was telling me a story today that he got banned recently because he said to someone that you suck ass. I'm like, that gets you banned now?
Really?
I'm like, back in my day, you could say the N-word, you could call each other faggots, and you would never get banned. Like, man, and I was telling him this, and I was just like, kids these days don't know. They literally don't know.
I think that's character building. You should be called like all those names and stuff. Suck ass. That's not nothing.
Yeah, he said, like, because this, my coworker, he's kind of like one of those competitive types with Call of Duty, and he was like apparently doing really well, and this guy was literally sucking ass, and he was rightfully like shit talking him, and then the guy just said reported, banned, and then an hour later, my coworker got banned.
Oh wow!
I'm like, oh my god, you kids are soft. Like, back in my day in the Modern Warfare lobbies, I was like hearing the N-word screamed at top of people's lungs. Faggot was screamed at, like a banshee. Mexican kids had their moms screaming at them in the background, making dinner, or just people were just screaming noise into their microphones, their shitty microphones. So it sounded awful. And,
it's like a Yoko album.
Yeah, it's a Yoko. Yeah, exactly. And the greatest thing that Zoomers don't know about online gaming is there is one little remedy that fixes this. It's called the mute button.
Yeah.
It's like, but even though that still exists today, they don't use it because the report button is so much more enticing. Because online gaming is full of toxic people. It's like, okay, whatever you say, whatever that means.
They've got to get rid of the toxicity. That's why. You can't just mute it. You've got to,
exactly.
Got to flush it out with a report button or something.
Yeah, I fucking hate the report button. It's like I look at a modern shooter game, like, I don't know if you've heard of Overwatch, probably.
Yeah, I've never played it though.
It's like, I remember this because it's like there's the report button has like, you could report people for spamming, malicious play.
Malicious play? What's that?
Like just purposely like beating up on one person.
Oh, okay.
Or like profanities, or like like just, like there's the fact that there's categories. I'm just like, back in my day, again, to say that term, back in my day, it was just a report button. That was it.
I
And it
always
was
loved,
like,
I always
it was
loved
never
like getting picked on. It was fun, exciting. You know, like if I didn't really play online very much, but I used
oh,
to do like multiplayer, like Halo and stuff like that when I was younger. And like if they all just spontaneously decided to come and hunt me, I'd just be like, it was like exciting. It was like you were
yeah.
running away from you playing tag or something, you know, like
Yeah,
what?
that, or I would play the gay character, be like, "Oh my God, guys, just stop trying to single me out. You're being so prude." It's like, get away. I'm like, that usually made them stop. Like, people don't realize, like, if you just, you just adorn a stereotypical character, they kind of just stopped. And then they just left you alone because you counteracted their sharp edge with another sharp edge, and you parried each other, and it was online 2000s and 90s too, but like 2000s when voice chat was like a big defining experience. It's like, you really toughened up in those spheres. And nowadays I just see kids and like teenagers being like sheltered little blobs. Like they can't experience like people yelling at them.
Yeah, it really does make you feel old when you notice and say this stuff, doesn't it? Because it's like, are we just like, our parents and grandparents? But it's like, no, it's the children who are wrong.
Yeah, no, I feel, to quote a Metal Gear game, it's like, why are we still here just to suffer? It's like, why am I still doing this? Oh, it's because I still love it, but like the dynamics of modern games are so different from what they were when I was getting really into it, which is the late 2000s.
Hmm.
And it's like there was an amazing site to me growing up called GameTrailers.com, and they had another one of these like internet game discussion things. They were the pre-Watch Mojo, before Watch Mojo, honestly. So they would do like all these top 10 videos, and they were run by like two fratty guys. Like one guy was Handsome Tom and Stuttering Craig, and like they would do like top 10 hottest babes in games, top 10 what the fuck moments, top 10 scary, like the Watch Mojo formula before that became a thing. And it was just like, it was just like guys talking about cool things and not filtering themselves. They could just
dudes being dudes.
Yeah, and that's games are fun. As a burgeoning homosexual, you learn that the quickest way to get to a straight boy's heart is to talk about games, especially the boy games. Call of Duty, Madden. What else did they really like back in the day? It was Call of Duty, Madden. Well, nowadays it's FIFA. Basically any extremely masculine on the surface game, like Halo was a big thing. Kind of Gears of War a little bit. But yeah, it mainly Call of Duty. It's like, I remember when that took off with my friends and growing up, and it's like instinctually in my mind, I was like, it's like, Mom, you had to give me this game now. I can't be left behind. You don't want me to be a loner, do you? I can skip the M-rated content. It's like,
I can skip it. Press X to skip sex scene.
Yeah, that was literally how I convinced my mom to get me my first M-rated game, which was Twisted Metal Black, which is basically like pulling from the Saw universe in terms of a visual language. And I was like 12, 13, and she knew I liked that franchise. But I told her, it's like, oh yeah, I can, I just skipped the cutscenes. That's where all the bad stuff is. Like, I skipped those. Didn't. I did not skip that stuff.
And also, probably the bad stuff is not just in the cutscene.
Oh yeah, I mean, in the gameplay, like Twisted Metal Black specifically, um, it's really scary. Like if you were to look at footage of it or play it, it's really unnerving because it's like the color palette is like blacks, browns, mud green, gray, rust brown in these like abandoned cities that are like on fire. Like your ways of interacting with the world, like you can destroy parts of it. Like in the first level, you can shoot down a passenger plane. It has a crash into a building. This is pre 9/11, by the way. So, but you could do that. Like you could run over pedestrians and they were screaming as you did that. And if you blew up an enemy, the enemy's character would run out of the fire screaming on fire, and you could run them over to get a health bonus.
I don't think I played that one, but that sounds very similar to one I used to love called Carmageddon. Have you ever played that?
Yes, I know Carmageddon.
It was one of those problematic games when I was a kid, that they were trying to ban in Australia at least. They're always trying to ban things here.
Yeah, that's what I talked with Alex, who's on this show and mine. Like Australia always was a fascinating little pocket because y'all are extremely strict on censorship for games.
But it's so weird though. I think Alex talked about this on your episode where it's like, it's only really any game that gets significant press. Like if there's a scene in a game and like some, dickhead journalist picks it up and like talks about it, that's the only game that's getting banned. Like, it's not like there's these censors going around, like looking at every single game. Like, it's actually surprising how much shit just gets through. It's just a media creation, I think, which is very annoying.
Yeah. I mean, I know the Australian board hates Grand Theft Auto.
Yes.
I mean, every government board, every ratings board hates Grand Theft Auto. But like, I know Australia was really, against Grand Theft Auto 5.
The torture scenes.
The torture scenes, just all the sex in the game too. Its depiction of women. To the point, I think it briefly got pulled from the shelves. Maybe, I can't remember, but like Rockstar had to like argue. It's like, no, like you technically should be allowing us to put this on your shelves. Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, well, they got there in the end, I guess, because I bought it. So
yeah, in the end, Grand Theft Auto wins because Grand Theft Auto will always win because Grand Theft Auto, literally, especially 5, Grand Theft Auto is like the biggest entertainment franchise on planet Earth right now. I mean, sure, things like, in movies like the Marvel stuff and blah, blah, blah. It's like, people don't know how like omnipresent GTA is. Like Grand Theft Auto 5 is the highest grossing entertainment product in the history of, in history. It made almost like, I think it made like $1 billion in like 3 days, like when it came out a decade ago. And it's still in the top 10 most sold games every month for the past decade. Like everyone keeps buying it. To the point where like, that's why it's taking forever for GTA 6 to come out. It's like GTA 5 still literally makes infinite money.
So so there's no need to, they're just like, we'll just let it roll in for a bit longer.
And GTA is another straight boy franchise. There's parts of GTA where I'm like, what is this? Namely because it's like, what am I doing? But at the same time, I allow my brain to be like, oh yeah, I can do whatever I want in like a digital version of New York City or Los Angeles or Miami. There's that sort of cathartic fun to just have a game that's like, sex, drugs, guns, and, violence. Like there's just something cathartic I think every guy can relate to. It crosses the straight gay paradigm a little bit.
Totally. Because you see like the hookers and stuff like that in GTA, and you're like, yes, work boots, honey. Like,
they're so cunty and they're so funny. And then it's also funny when because GTA is primarily just built on ridiculous stereotypes of every group of known to man. Like every race, every sexuality, every when men or women, every sort of like type of person, like GTA will just like elevate to 11 and just like just present them as like a chance for just like some crazy jokes. And I talked about this when I did an episode on GTA 4. My favorite character from GTA 4 is their gay character, Bernie Crane, who is this like Eastern European immigrant who was a part of like this like massacre. That's kind of like part of the central driving force of that story. And he's this like flaming homosexual who he's engaged to a politician who spouts like, oh yeah, we have to protect the family and just your typical conservative points. And he's engaged with this guy, and his apartment's full of like Tom of Finland art and gay posters galore. And he's just like, I moved to America and I fell in love, but he's married to a woman and I want to kill myself. It's like, that is so just over the top, where I'm just like, that is wonderful. Like, he is fabulous in a way that like they would never do again.
Yeah.
It was that 2000s, like every gay character is like fabulous. Like Christian's Siriano, Project Runway, like Bernie Crane feels like kind of in that world of like gays on TV.
Yeah. Whereas gays on TV now are just kind of boring, but
yeah, the Real Friends of WeHo.
Yeah. Which wasn't a bad show.
I haven't watched it. I know it became like the devil for...
I just did an episode on Unpopular about that, and we both came to the conclusion that it's not actually that bad, and people just were going crazy over it because it cut into Drag Race time. But I heard, because I don't watch Drag Race anymore, but I heard that, I think Zach told me this, that the shorter episodes were better anyway. So
yes, they were. Like, because they didn't dwell on the boring shit.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, all right, intro the episode. Here's the challenge for the day. Okay, here's them practicing for the challenge. Then they do the runway. Here's the challenge results, lip sync, and they're done.
You're done.
Like, it was like, it was just so get in and get out. And people were just fucking losing their shit over that. And I'm just like, what do you want to hear more like trauma sob stories about like my parents didn't affirm my gender expression? It's like, and a lot when in the shorter episodes, if they did the sob stories, it was very like
they were full on.
Yeah. Like in the shorter episodes, they were just like, my parents didn't support me being gay, and that was it.
Yeah.
Like it was very just old school Drag Race.
Yeah.
And,
or my mother left me at a bus stop.
Yeah. My mother left me at a bus stop, and it's so great.
Anyway,
but,
like every time I have a gay guest on, like it always derails into Drag Race.
I mean, it's the water cooler topic for us. I mean, we all have our opinions about it. Like,
that's true. Sorry.
I couldn't escape it. One of my exes introduced me to it, and I lost my mind ever since. Like, Drag Race is just part of my vernacular now, where it's just like, I will just randomly think of like some bizarre random quote, and I'm just like, that's my new obsession for it's like lately this week I just think of Tatiana versus Tyra. Like,
oh yes.
It's just like,
it's just imprinted on your brain. Like it's
it's like, I don't think you're seeing that Tyra's a complete bitch. It's like, you shouldn't play the victim. It doesn't suit you. It's like, what is wrong with me? And it doesn't help that the All Stars 8's out right now. So it's like, well, back into the machine.
Oh, here we go again. All right. So let's move on to talk about Kojima, because he's who we're here to talk about today. I just want to talk about a little bit about his education, which I think is interesting because he went to school for economics and he didn't study programming, which is what a lot of video game designers do. And he had a very interesting upbringing where like his parents would like literally make him watch movies and like do like book reports and shit. And so this was outside of his, you know, education. So he obviously has, he obviously references a lot of different works in all of his video games, but I find that the idea that he wasn't a programmer, like, is probably why he's so good, because he can actually think beyond pixels and code and like that stuff sorts it out. You sort that stuff out later, you know? So I find that an interesting trajectory.
And it was very out of the blue for the 80s because this was I'm assuming Japan was very similar to, and I believe they were very similar to like the West in that sense, where like colleges hadn't developed video game programming majors yet. Like that didn't happen until like the last decade, honestly. So it was really out of the blue for him to come into the industry where he had no experience. He wanted to be a filmmaker for the longest time. Like he and his friends would like try to make movies together. And it's funny you mentioned up his parents like forcing him to watch movies every night. Another funny thing is like if he fell asleep during it, his parents would rewind the movie so that he would watch it fully, because they were just like, you're not skipping out on this. Like, but he went to studied economics because his dad passed away when he was young. And he thought that like, you know, traditional Japanese upbringing, you need a traditional job to support yourself and your family, you know, tale as old as time, I suppose, for a lot of, you know, Japanese living at the time. So he gets the Konami, and, you know, he's trying his best. And for the longest time, like basically everyone at Konami was just like shit talking him.
Because he wasn't a programmer, right?
Yeah. He had no programming knowledge and he couldn't finish games really, to the point where like for a while he had the title of planner. And that was a weird title because it didn't really exist at the time, where he's just kind of planning out the game. He's not really coding. He's not really directing. He's kind of that like middleman. And people are just like, what are you doing? You don't know how to make games. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, and he made a game. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was nothing like it was called Penguin Adventure was his first game, and he was a planner for that. And then Konami's like, okay, we're going to let you try to make your own game. I think it was called Lost Planet or something Planet.
Lost World.
Lost World. And
it was spelt different. He misspelled it. It was supposed to be world, but it was WARLD.
Very of him to do that. But that fell apart. And so people at Konami are like literally saying to him, when are you going to finish a game before you die? Like literally just ripping him apart. And
it's very Japanese.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially 80s Japan.
Yeah.
And so
would have been ruthless.
Yes, very ruthless. And I think that kind of affected him. So he basically got one more shot, which was Metal Gear. He was gifted, because it was originally supposed to be like an action game that couldn't really get off the ground because the system it was made for, which was called the MSX, it was a Japanese computer. It couldn't really handle your standard action game at the time. The MSX was kind of limited in that sense. So he literally proposed, it's such a simple idea, but he's like, what if the point of the game is to not kill people? And at first they were just like, what the hell are you talking about? And so, but it worked and it sold really well. And, you know, he kind of proved himself finally. But after Metal Gear, he kind of then did kind of what he wanted to do more, which was trying to tell stories. in game. So he made a lot of visual novels like
Yeah,
Snatcher.
Have you played or like
I
walked
played
through?
Snatcher years ago. My memory of it's a little foggy, honestly, right now. It's very cool. I mean,
So
it's a
cool.
cyberpunk crime story. It sadly is very hard to play nowadays
Mm.
because
You
it
can watch
only
it. You can watch it
yeah,
on
you can
YouTube.
watch it.
Yeah.
It's a game where actually honestly watching it is not really missing much from
Yeah.
it. Um, because it only came out in America on the Sega CD, um, which not many people had. I think only like
Mm.
3 million people ever had a Sega CD.
Mm.
So like trying to get it nowadays is like, well, fork over $200, please. You know, the
That
bane of my existence, you know, the out of print market of gaming.
that Snatcher is really interesting because it's sort of like a hodgepodge of different influences, which is
Oh
basically
yeah.
his MO. Like he continues to do this to this day,
Yeah.
really. Um,
Mhm.
it's like Blade Runner meets Terminator meets fucking Akira, and like the visual design is really interesting and colorful, and the
Mhm.
story is just really kind of it kind of does follow similar beats to like Blade Runner and Terminator, but then it does something different with it.
Mhm.
Like, so he just basically copies things where you can just at first glance, you'd just be like, this is just a rip off of fucking Blade Runner. But then it
Mhm.
becomes, he builds off that. And that's something, uh, who was talking about this? I think, David from Agitator, how like when he's writing his cyberpunk books, he just plays
Yeah.
Cyberpunk 27 and just lifts things from that and then just makes it his own. Like, and I think
Mhm.
that's such an interesting way to go about generating stuff and creating stuff. Just wearing
Yes.
your influences on your sleeve, you know?
Yeah. Which was Kojima is very much like a sponge when it
Yes.
comes to pop culture. Like, and he says this in his book. It's just like his thought process is more or less, I find something, I like it, and I go find it. And then most of the times he will include that in the
Mm,
game. Like, and it could just be like a book or a movie or a show or heck, even, you know, he even lists like the iPod as an
mm,
inspiration. Like, he is a sponge and he has no problem wearing that. And I think people nowadays view that as a bad thing because it's like you're not original,
mm,
you're just stealing things. It's like, well, what story's original anymore? Like
exactly.
it's not the point. Like it's what you do with your inspirations that creates something interesting. And for him, he's always viewed games as a sort of, especially back then when the late 80s, early 90s, when games are, they're slowly progressing in technology. And he's making Snatcher. He's making Metal Gear 2, his version of Metal Gear 2, by the way, because in America they made a Metal Gear 2 without his involvement, and it was bad. Just it wasn't that good, and so he got the chance to do his version of Metal Gear 2.
Mm,
So technology's progressing and all that stuff, and I think he's even said it's like games allow me to tell the stories that I want to tell. And which was interesting, especially back then, because gaming at that point, especially in Japan, gaming was kind of seen as like a stopover for people who were trying to get into film
mm,
or like animation. Like it was for people who didn't make the cut. And, here's this man who, as we said, was not a programmer. All his inspirations come from movies that he had been watching forever as a kid. He wanted to be a filmmaker, and, he sees gaming as sort of the new potential or the vehicle to which he can tell his stories the best.
mm,
And because if you looked at his own games, how in the hell are you going to adapt his game? How can you tell these games in a movie form? You can't.
mm.
Like currently they're trying to adapt Metal Gear Solid into a movie and they're struggling because I think they realize now how do you adapt Metal Gear Solid? I'm assuming they're adapting the first game. It's like, how do you adapt a game that is like both inspired by The Great Escape, this sort of sneaking infiltration movie that's got influences of like mecha anime, the Terminator, and then also all these themes and stories of like genes, nuclear war, genome soldiers, your destiny, like interlaced with like bizarro scenes, like, like one of the characters being possessed by one of the bosses of the game. And she's like, I heard, you like women, don't you, Snake? Like, how do you adapt that into a movie? So it's
so completely him that it's almost like he would have to make the movie.
Yeah, a part of me hopes that he does get to make one movie in his life, like, because I know they're adapting Death Stranding into a movie, and I think he has a lot of involvement in that. Like, I think he picked the production studio for it, and it wasn't like a mainstream Hollywood production studio, which was interesting. But the point being is, like, you have this man telling these stories that take, his games on average take between 8 to at most like 60 hours to beat. And
really long.
Yeah, they're especially Death Stranding is his longest one. That takes like 60 hours to beat. Yeah. And Death Stranding is intentionally slow.
60 hours of just walking one place to the other.
Yeah, it's walking, which again, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but it's like when people see that as a concept of a game, they're just like, what the hell is this? It's boring, it's bad, like, but they don't, well, there's a instinctual contrarian take against Kojima, especially in the last decade, where people want to say like he's a shitty writer, like, so like, I guess I'll try to set that up is Metal Gear Solid, that's when he broke into the main global mainstream, and rightfully so. Metal Gear Solid 1 is a fantastic game. Metal Gear Solid 2 is one of the most mind-bending meta, post-modern, whatever you want to call it, pieces of media ever. And then Metal Gear Solid 3 is this like beautiful like love letter to like 60s spy movies. And when Metal Gear Solid 4 comes out, it's this really long-winded, really self-critical, self-analyzing piece of media of itself as the franchise. And this was the first time Kojima was the sole writer, because Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3, he had like a guy helping out the optional stuff. And so when that guy disappeared and Kojima was really let loose, people said like, he's too long-winded. He makes no sense. He contradicts himself. He retcons things, people. Based,
as far as I'm concerned.
People just like, there are so many internet talking heads that just want to say like Kojima was never original or never good or never, just basically bad. And they're all fucking retards because like they want to be that. It's like with any sort of like auteur and anything where it's like, well, actually, this person is an idiot, and
he's
I'm actually
good.
Yeah, I'm the smarter one. I think everyone probably knows who these type of people. It's like the letterbox reviewer, kind of, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you find that in all different sorts of like critiques, like, armchair critiques of games, films, books, whatever. Is that, and to me, it always seems like a kind of way for someone who hasn't done anything, hasn't created anything, to get some kind of mastery over something that's very unique and original. And so they do that by I'm not saying that like all criticism is that, obviously not, but like more that like there's a that seems to be the pathology there when people do those sorts of takes.
Gaming criticism is very full of the armchair critic, where it's like, because gaming is I could be speaking from a bubble when I say this, but gaming has been because it's grown up, game criticism has grown up with the age of like social media taking shape, with like YouTube and Twitter and all that sort of jazz, or just like review sites where you can like leave your own review. So it feels like when people want to talk about a game, you know, they elevate themselves to be the sort of all-knowing, all-seeing critic. And it's like 99% of these people have never made a game in their life. In college, I tried to make games. Making games is hard. No one understands this. Making games is a nightmare, at least to my monkey brain. Like, even
simple ones, like little pixel sprites,
it's hard as shit. No one understands this, but because like, and I'm assuming it's like with anything, it's like where I watch X amount of things or play X amount of games or listen to X amount of albums. It's like, I'm the cultured critic who knows all. And Kojima is one of the few auteurs of the industry. So much so that like his name is on the box. Like, he's a Hideo Kojima game. Like, that is a selling point now. And so people think that they have the wherewithal and the credentials to criticize him, because it's like, well, actually, that is an undeserved position for him, because I'm internet man on YouTube, and here I'm showing you a problem with the game, and actually, like, this character's reason for doing this makes no sense. Like, it's supposed to, like, characters need a reason to do this. It's like, who fucking cares? Who fucking cares? Like, you're not smarter than this man. No matter, like, if you play his games, you just understand, like, where he is coming from. When you understand him as a person, you know what he's trying to communicate to you. He's a very reflective person as a creative. Once you understand what makes him tick or what affects him, you really see the beauty in his works. I mean, we were talking beforehand a little bit about him. Like, one of the main things that drives one of the main themes of his works is the present force of death in his games. Like, death is always seemingly overlooking his life. And then when you realize, oh yeah, his dad died when he was 13. Kojima himself has almost died several times in his life. He almost got killed by a dog. He almost drowned in a river. He almost got hit by a train. Like, you understand that, like, he's very in tune with what is going around him. Like, he feels hypersensitive to the world's going on. So much so that he's now built a reputation for predicting things in the future. Like, I'm not joking. Like, the man has predicted things decades in advance. Like, Metal Gear Solid 2, there is a whole 10-minute long conversation where he's basically describing late 2010s Twitter, like where trivial information is preserved in all of its triteness, and where the rights of criminals are more protected than the rights of victims, and blah blah. He's predicting all of this stuff and how society is being controlled and yada yada yada. All that sort of
this like armchair critic thing, like being like, I know better than Hideo Kojima. It's like, no, you don't. He's read more books than you. He's watched more movies than you, and he's made more games than you. So
he's got
the fuck down.
He's got his beat. Like, like one of the funniest takes I've ever seen is like, and it's not even per se about his writing, because people have their opinions about how he writes games. Oh boy. Like one famous guy who's a fucking retard. Like he has a big following, and he's like, um, actually, guys, the first stealth game on PS1 was Tenchu, and it's like Tenchu is a
I
great
remember that
game.
game. That was good.
It's a
That
fun,
game.
it's a good game, but it ain't Metal Gear Solid,
No.
and it didn't do anything better per se than Metal Gear Solid. Like, people want to be like, well, literally, it's like the Wojak pushing his glasses up, smirking. Like, it's like, actually, he didn't do this. Like, people like to credit that, like, that guy I was mentioning on the first 3 Metal Gear Solids. I forget his first name, but his last name is Fukushima. He was a part of like the games. He was a writer for the optional conversations that you can have in those games. And they're not that deep. Most of them are just kind of throwaways. And people will be like, well, when he left, the quality of the writing went down. It's like, no, even this guy has said, yeah, Hideo wrote the main story. He wrote all the important stuff. Like, what are you talking about? Like this desire to be a like revisionist is like cringe. It's like, stop it. Like, I don't know what it is about game specifically. People just like don't want to like elevate like a man who clearly deserves the praise he has gotten in life. And it's not like it's not like Kojima, like, it's not like he comes off as the guy who's like, I'm smarter than you. Cause it's like, he's like literally the sweetest Japanese man known to mankind.
He's so cute. Every photo I see of him, I just want to hug him. Like,
yeah. And when he talks too, it's like, I don't know if you've listened to his podcast. He has his own podcast called Brain Structure.
No, I've never listened to it. I didn't even know that. But...
It's a Spotify exclusive. And he's basically talking a bunch of his like celebrity friends, because he has so many.
Does he talk in Japanese?
Yeah, he talks in Japanese, but he has a translator.
Yeah.
So it's like he has an episode with what's his name? The guy who makes the horror movies where it's like about race. Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele. Yeah, he has like an episode with Jordan Peele. It's like, why? Who? What? And then, like, I'm pretty sure that Jordan Peele is going to be in DS2 because I think there's a picture of him scanning Jordan Peele's face, which just mean like, okay, you've been put in the Kojima verse. You can join Nicholas Winding Refn and Guillermo del Toro and Norman Reedus and Mads Mikkelsen and Léa Seydoux.
Yeah.
Like, Kojima, he's like collecting celebrities and filmmakers and like, you're going in my video game. Like, but like there's it's like there's like one clip where he's talking with Norman Reedus and he like he's talking briefly and he just ends it with his bad English and he's like, I love you.
Aww.
Yeah, like he literally even his actors, he's like, I love this person.
Yeah.
Like there's a great tweet where he's just like talking about Mads Mikkelsen. He's like, there's several different types of Mads that you'll see in Death Stranding. You'll see smoking Mads. You'll see Mads in military outfit. I'm like, man, he loves what he does. He loves working with these people. It's like, how can you hate him?
I love what he does too. But we should talk about the book, because the book is a very interesting piece of media, I think. It's sort of like a companion piece to, I would say, his entire life and career up to this point.
Yeah.
And so it's called The Creative Gene, although we decided that we liked the original title better, didn't we? What was it again?
Go.
Memes and me or something like that. Like,
yeah, I'm consulting the internet real quick.
Yeah, let's Google live on the podcast.
It's a weird title.
Yeah. That actually just fits the book way better.
Yeah, it fits the book way better because like the American version is, and like literally if you Googled, every site will say it's The Creative Gene, how books, movies, and music inspired the creator of Death Stranding and Metal Gear Solid. The original Japanese one is The Gifted Gene and My Lovable Memes.
Yeah, I like that. See, that sounds more him too, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and the book covers more him because like the book. I mean, this isn't a bad one. It's
mm.
just like they just saw like gold was like a thing, which I like the fact there's gold on here. Like they're like gold is a thing that happens is in Death Stranding, and the font is Death Stranding font. Like, like
cross promotion.
yeah. I mean, the ending of the book has him like talking about
Death Stranding.
yeah, like it's fine, it's fine. Like, but the Japanese version is much more appropriate. Heck, even like the other language adaptations are like better than
Oh, really?
like. Well, they have just like better covers.
Yeah, this
like
one looks very self-helpy, doesn't it? Like,
yeah,
here
that's
are the
so true.
secrets to being like
A video
Kojima.
game
Yeah,
maker.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
seeing like some like 30, like 40 something, like a millennial woman. It's like video games. That's a silly concept.
what I love about this book is, well, basically it is an archive of all of his influences, and he'll talk about his life a little bit. He'll also talk about how he finds like these texts, like, and usually what he really loves is like coming across something like just randomly, like not finding it via word of the mouth or on the internet or whatever. Like he starts out talking about how he loves to go to bookstores, goes to bookstores
Which is
every day.
so cute.
Yeah, it's so cute.
It's such an adorable opening. Like again, the adorable man he is. Like the opening line is like, what's the opening line honestly is such a great one. It's so like, because it feels very in line with like everyone's recent book obsession in our sphere. It's like, I began the original edition of this book with a quote: "A world without books is inconceivable. More than 6 years later, my feelings haven't changed, but I and my circumstances have changed greatly." It's like that, that introduction is such a sweet little thing because you get it really kind of gets at kind of a part of what sets him apart as a writer. Like a big thing of his games is passing down information. Like even the second game is centered around the concept. I mean, genes are present, but also memes, mimetics, not memes of the modern day sense. Like the original definition where it's about passing down information and culture and art through storytelling and all that sort of stuff. In that opening passage, it helps, it opens the curtain on that part of him where it's just like, he is hungry to learn anything from any piece of media, books being one of them. Like this book really highlights how much books are important to him more than just because he's always known as the movie guy.
Yeah.
Because what like we said earlier about his early life, like it's well known he loves movies, but I think this book kind of gets a good picture about he also loves books a lot. Like,
oh yeah, he really does. Like, and you can actually see those influences too. Like, he's got really good taste as well. Like he really loves Agatha Christie, fantastic mystery novels. Still hold up to this day. He really likes Coin Locker Babies, which is an amazing.
Yes, I know. What great one too. Like he says one of his biggest parts of his life is discovery. Like he wants to discover things, and he laments how the modern day has kind of removed that from life in the sense of the Google search. He says how he's not a fan of Google searching, like, because the point for him when he goes to his bookstores, and he's like, he meticulously says, like, I have like my route through the store. I have my, like, he has his own like methodical thing that he does. And it's like, the part of it is for me to find something that puts me into the place of a different scenario than my own. It's like books allow me to go to a place I've never been, be someone I've never been, or think about something I've never thought of. Like for him, like the Google search kind of negates that.
Yeah.
For his clear obsession about wanting to learn.
Yeah. I actually even highlighted a passage about that when he's talking about his process, which this is really cute too, where he's like, this is what I do when I go to the bookstore. Like he lays it all out, and he's like, what does he say? He says, the information you see on the internet comes to you filtered and tailored to your personal likings and interests. In a bookstore, information of all types comes into your view passively as you browse, even on topics that you don't follow. Bookstores create a broader context that doesn't exist on the internet. And then he says towards the end of that paragraph, he's like, I want to bring my physical body to a store with books on display that I can reach out and touch. And that's so true.
So cute. It's so cute. Like this is a thing about him and that opening, but also all the sort of, because this book is more or less him saying like, here's thing that inspired me or thing I like. And you realize that like he is like the one person in life who is like 100% pure. It's kind of childlike, but in a good way. I mean, literally there is a passage in here where he's like recommending the I Spy books. Like the kids finding like there's a quote, it's like, through these books, I've gained experience in finding things for myself, experience that will be put into positive work. When it does, I will be grateful to myself for spying, I spy. All of life is a hide and seek. If you open your eyes, your heart will also peak. Get with the rhythm and rhyme. You find your memes in your eyes. Now go play I Spy. It's like, this man is writing his own little limerick about like, why a little like the thing like kids when they're 5 at the doctor's office, like he's like there is a joy to even that, like everything in life to him is like it's like literally he's the kid in the play set and it's just like, what can I do with this, what can I pull from this, what is the purpose of this, and how can I put that into my own work, like rarely will you ever see that Kojima ever say something bad about anything. Like I mean, more power to him. Like he's a guy who can enjoy the Marvel movies. He finds something out of those, which I'm like, it's hard for me to do that. Like, so I respect him that he can find something to pull from. As being someone who's so obsessed with him, there's a way to know when he doesn't like a movie is when he just writes one sentence. And it's just that sentence is, I saw this movie. And he's only done
this
that.
This movie happened.
Yeah. Like, and I think that's only happened 3 times on Twitter. The first one was Captain Marvel. He just said, watched Captain Marvel. And then most recently was the Mario movie. He's like, went to see the Mario movie in 3D IMAX. And it's just a picture of him in a movie theater, like just looking at his phone. I'm just like, oh no, he hated this. Because normally, like, not only in this like book, but if you look on his like online presence, he will like gush about like, I loved this aspect of the movie. I love how it looks, or I like the music, or he even like gush about because in Japan they have like the programs for the movies, like. He'll even like show pictures of the programs he got from the movie theater. It's like he is like he's like finding anything, and it's just like, how can I put this how can I better myself as a creator?
Yeah,
and
I mean he does say early on that like, you know, 1 in 10 things he picks up is not going to be great. Like, and I like that he calls 9 in 10 things are not going to be great. And he calls the 1 in 10 the winner. He's like, but one day you'll pick a winner and you have to be ready to receive the winner. And like,
So sweet.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
so cute.
But
Like
like that suggests to me as well, like what you're saying, which is that he's very he only really talks about what he likes. Like, and you're obviously, you can read the tea leaves and see when he doesn't like something, but he's not being shady. He's just saying,
no.
I went to see this movie or whatever. But and I think that is a really good sort of philosophy just in general for like, creating stuff, even podcasts actually. Like I've kind of internalized this even before I read this book, which is that I'm not doing stuff that I don't really respond to anymore. Like I just don't want to waste my time on that. Like, yeah, I want to do stuff that I really like.
Yeah.
And that's that. Like, and I don't
Yeah.
even want to talk about the stuff that I hate,
Yeah. Like, I get, like, I think, like, in all of us, we have this urge to be like, well, here's why I didn't like it. Like, if like you have to like reason with it, which is fine. Like, I get that, but I appreciate that, like Kojima, and I try to do my best to kind of live in his sort of example to the best of my ability. Because Lord knows that I will shit on Horizon Zero Dawn until the cows.
That's like my favorite, like, ongoing like narrative in your show. It's your hatred for that show.
At some point, I'm going to have to talk about that game because it's like everything about it makes me so mad because it's like it is robot dinosaurs, post-apocalyptic robot dinosaurs, and you made it boring somehow. Like, how do you do that? Like, I should at least enjoy that from like literally, as I always say this, like my monkey brain should always be like, that's a cool idea. Like it's something that I'm doing with my controller, like I'm actively doing, but it's like Horizon Zero Dawn has like the wettest blanket of a main character. And I'm just like, why should I care? And somehow this series sells millions of copies. And I'm like, who is playing it? Yeah. Who is fucking playing this? Because all I see, because the For You page likes to torment me because it's probably listening to me say this all the time. Like it just regurgitates the same clips over and over again, or just the same screenshots, the same like Twitter, the same tweets. And I'm just like, who is playing this? It's like AI generated. So I succumb to being a hater. We all have it in us.
You should do one hateful episode a season. Like, I'm sure you've got other games that you hate that you could do.
Man, see, I'm like Kojima, where it's just like I can find something good in something. Like, I'm trying to think of a game recently that I was just like, it exists. Horizon's like the one. I guess the other one is the God of War games that came out. Like, I'm just like, those exist. Yeah. Like, they're not for me. Like the new Spider-Man games, those like the one that came out in 2018.
Oh yeah,
I played that. I was like, yeah, I played that. I was like, it's fine. It's like whatever. I don't see the hype, but maybe it's just not for me, and that's okay. Like it like, but with Kojima, it's like, in a way, it feels very true to him and what he does as a creator, where he feels like that. I know that there's a proper term for it in like the sort of concept of literature where it's like the storyteller, where the narrator, where it's like the point is to pass on these stories, like these these classical stories, that we know that have been passed down generation to generation, centuries. And it feels like Kojima fills that role in society, at least to me, where he obviously has his point of view as an auteur, game maker, writer, director, whatever role he is, usually all of those roles at once. He has that point of view, but it's like he uses that as a way to kind of impart other things to people at the same time. Like it goes back to like him being a sponge, where it's like, if you play something like Metal Gear Solid, you will kind of then follow his breadcrumbs to like his inspirations, and then you watch those movies, and then you kind of pass those movies on to you know, your nephews or your nieces or your kids or your parents. You know, it's like he's there to like service two roles in like a broad stroke society, where it's like he's the narrator and he's the, you know, he's the creator. And I can't really think of it. No one really else in gaming is like that per se, where they're more so with games. It's kind of, they're trying to fill the traditional, like just, you know, I'm the auteur maker. I have a unique style and sensibility, and that's it. But with Kojima, there's like another layer to it, where it's like, and he mentions this like in the later part of the book, when he's literally talking about the announcement of Death Stranding, where it's kind of funny that he's like recounting that.
Yeah.
Where he's like the announcement trailer, because I remember seeing that for the first time live in 2016. And this was post his like very public breakup with Konami. And it was a very big deal at the time, because he'd been with them for 30 plus years. And he's recounting the story of how he picked up how he found the song for that trailer. And he's like, I was over in Iceland.
Yes, I remember.
I got in a taxi, and the taxi driver happened to be this, he happened to be in a band, and he dropped me off at a record store, and I heard low roars, I'll keep coming, playing on the radio. So I asked what it was, and then I went and looked it up and listened to myself. And you know, I think he even says this in the book too, around, I think right around this part of the book, where he's like, that sense of where he found it out in the wild is like his main goal in life. It's like, your purpose as a consumer of media is not to just like go on your phone and just search things.
Search for keywords. Like,
yeah, keywords. Yeah. You know, it's about going into real life and finding your inspirations, or what will captivate you.
Yeah, because that's a really important point, because everyone, you know, if you view yourself as like, you know, someone who consumes media, like that part of yourself, and that you view it in terms of keywords, like that we just look up, I'm into this, I'm into cyberpunk, I'm into horror, I'm into whatever. So you go and pursue those set keywords that are on the search engines or on Amazon or whatever. Whereas like his philosophy is like so much more like life affirming. Like even if you're even if you're not a creator, you should discover things and influences through that process by not sitting at home on your computer, but going out into the world, you know?
Yeah. The world to him is an ocean that is only meant to be swam in, sort of thing. Like you don't, you know, you're not supposed to just kind of look at the ocean longingly in his eyes, which is funny because, you know, Death Stranding has this whole ocean theme around it, but which also is very interesting for him as a person, because he's stated himself many a times that how he felt so lonely at times, where, you know, he kind of isolated himself, and he even goes in on the book talking about he wanted to be an astronaut. Like because this book is a lot of like just like his little essays kind of compiled together, and one of them talks about how he wanted to be an astronaut, and he would be okay living by himself, sacrificing his role as a game creator, and, you know, all this stuff. Like, and it's interesting how he describes himself like this, but the way you see him and the way you experiencing his works, all of his works are very life affirming. Like the ending of Metal Gear Solid 1, which I think is one of the most beautiful endings for anything, is, you know, I don't know if you've played Metal Gear 1, Solid 1, but
I watched it.
Yeah, I mean, the point is like Solid Snake feels like that his future in life is dictated by his genetics, because he is a genetic clone of the greatest soldier in history. And the point of the game is like, no, your genes do not define your future. They have this great, beautiful, like full motion video ending where you're riding the I don't know what the proper term for it is in Alaska, the dogs,
Sled.
the sled, the sled dogs, and it's like going through the Alaskan winters in the mountains, and it's like, it's not about your genes dictating your future, Snake. It's about going out there and living your life. Like, so go out there and live. Like, it's such I literally described me. It gave me chills, like right now. It's so simple of a concept, but it's such a beautiful and true message, because I think he speaks from his own life being so like wrapped up in his own like worlds of stories and movies, where it's like the point of being someone who is so knowledgeable and so curious. It's like, the world is your oyster. Now go out there and find what you love. Like,
yeah. And then pass that on. That's the other key component of it as well.
yes,
like that, and that's the section where he talks about, I forget, I'm looking at the text right now. He talks about the voices of the Hoshiadori Cafe, which is by Ryo Asai. And so he's just talking about the story, and it's a family kind of drama. But then in that section, he describes like basically how his father died. It's actually really touching and very, very sad. But because he describes how his dad had like a stroke or something, like, I forget what the exact thing was, but then when he went to see him in the hospital, Kojima got this look from his dad that he didn't kind of understand, because he was only like 13. And then he says that he's like constantly been haunted by, what was my dad trying to tell me? And then he kind of, he tells how like he becomes a father himself and kind of works out what he was trying to tell him. I'm just going to read this bit where he's like, okay, so he's talking about just meeting his dad. Like, so he says, on that summer day, I was convinced that by losing my father in body, I'd lost him, but I was wrong. He is still inside me. I carry his voice within me. That is what he wanted to tell me back then. Within this book, I heard this voice, which had been sheltered within me for 35 years. And then he goes on to sort of say that becoming a father and reading this book made him realize that, go out into the world, and everything will be all right because you're my children. It's like, oh, that made me cry.
Yeah, he's so in touch with his emotions and his like reason for being alive. And it's interesting he brings this up too, because like, when he thought he had to do the traditional Japanese salaryman route, but like, and it's not even just his dad was saying this, like his mom was still saying that. Like the one person that told him to still pursue his dreams was his mom. And his relationship with his mom is so sweet, which is sad too, because she passed away in 2017, which Death Stranding feels very him reacting to that.
Yeah.
But like, his relationship with his mom, because like his mom would play his games, and she, sometimes it would take her months to play it. And my favorite,
so sweet.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things is Metal Gear Solid 3, which the main sort of antagonist of that game is the boss, who's a very mother figure to you as the player and as to Big Boss, Naked Snake. It's very confusing because there's several snakes in the Metal Gear Solid franchise. But like, my favorite thing ever was like, she played it after months of trying to get through it, and all she said to him was, "It is finished." It's so adorable, but like, yeah, it's so cute, but also very sincere, that it's like, he views his life not as just like going through the beats. It's about discovery, and it's about, it feels very, maybe this is why some Westerners have trouble to understand him, is it feels, I mean, I could be wrong here of my limited Japanese knowledge, but it's like, Japan is a very like, respect your elders and pass on lineage, as far as I know. Like, so it feels very traditionally Japanese. So maybe that's why people have like, he speaks a lot from his point of origin. And, when you're trying to convey all this sort of stuff from a Japanese point of view, from a Japanese creator, and you're dealing with a lot of American themes, and it's like, okay, I got to convey all this stuff, and it doesn't go over people's head. Like, I don't know. It's like, maybe people, I think it's rare to see a creative person who wears their heart on their sleeve like him. Like, when people see that, it's like a sign of weakness to people, or like a chance to be like the irony man online, be like, let's get a look at this guy.
Yeah.
It's like, all he wants to do is he wants to like pass on his life story, in a sense. You mentioned like passing on, like down the lineage. Like, at the end of the day, that's what Metal Gear Solid 2 is about. Like, you play as Raiden, and Raiden has no idea what's going on anymore. Like, the game has just blown up his entire worldview to the point where he doesn't know what's real and what's not real. And Solid Snake's final words to you, to Raiden, and you as the player, is like, it doesn't matter, the truth per se. What matters is that you pass on your story. You pass on your lineage. You pass on, we as a society pass on books and movies and music to the future generations, so that potentially they could learn from our mistakes or learn from our ideas. And he was writing this in 2001. Like, the man was speaking from the truth. And I think he speaks so honestly from both what he sees and what he feels, that I think he almost like feels immense like regret now. Like, Death Stranding, he was so on the nose about how things were going to happen. And that literally because Death Stranding came out in like November 2019. And basically all this sort of imagery and stuff that he put into that game came true. So much so that he was like, yeah, this reminded me of literally 9/11. Like, it's so...
Yeah, predicting that kind of the breakdown of, the ability to... Well, the ability isn't completely gone, but the ability to pass down the memes. In the traditional sense, not the internet meme, but like, is something that, another thing that he sort of predicted, and why he probably hates the internet as well, because like, it basically makes all of this, by like de-physicalizing it, it makes it, it's harder to pass down. It's like the point that Jack's always saying about physical media, right? Like, get the physical media, because otherwise something that you might want to pass down to your children might not exist like in a few years. So,
as Kojima said in MGS2, trite information or useless information in all of its triteness is preserved, in, exceedingly more and more mundane. I forget the exact quote, but it's basically like, useless information is being preserved while meaningful stuff is being pushed to the side.
Yeah. And even like meaningful just to you yourself. Like, I have like, this is actually, I was getting a bit emotional about this the other day, because I was trying to like track down all these like old magazine publications, like some of the first like short stories and stuff I'd published. And they're just nowhere, like, because they're just not on the internet anymore, because it's just gone. Like, you can't even find it in the archive. So I'm like, just like tears in the rain. So yeah, it's,
which is funny because he mentions how Blade Runner was a big influence on his life. It's like, so like, it all feeds on itself.
Yeah. So even just like personal things like that, like this idea of like passing things on. Well, passing things on you know, even if it's in a meme format, like in the sense of memetics, like stories and things like that, you got to have that story somewhere.
Exactly.
Just lost in the ether of the, you know, void of the internet or something.
Yeah, MGS2 becomes more and more prescient and important and real as years go by. Which is just like, the man predicted this. Like, he wrote this story in like 1999, 2000. So it's like he saw this happening then. Like, and I feel like he saw this because of what he says in his book. And it's like the experience of like going to a physical place to discover or go to talk with your family, talk with your friends, you know, that sort of is being lost to the ether of the digital age, which, you know, like I'm not here to be like doom and gloom about the internet, because like I've met some truly amazing people because of the internet. Like, obviously, same. I'm not going to be like, you know, poo-pooing that. Like, and I'm not trying to say like, oh, Kojima's an idiot for saying this. Like, no, he's right in the sense of, you know, anyone who's listening, it's like, open your Twitter feed. It's like, what are you seeing? Like, you're just seeing like little bits of just like meaningless stuff is constantly being fed to you, or like, you know, it's like this Drag Race clip that is like, why does this has, you know, on one hand, Drag Race is important. And on the flip side, why is this taking up so much of your brain space? Like, like like when you could be like, fulfilling yourself outside, like, and it could be just like littlest things. Like for him, it's like, you know, one of his recurring things he will always do online is like, here's a picture of my phone with what song I am listening to. Like, and that's it. Like, good morning. That's all he says. Like, you know, it's like enriching yourself with like, you know, music, you know, in the morning when you're at work, or, you know, going, you know, one of the cute things he now does with his own production studio is like, he will sit down his employees and have a movie night with them. Like, and they'll discuss,
and if they fall asleep, they rewind.
I would hope he does that. But like, they have like a discussion about it. Like, it's cute, but like, you know, he's fulfilling his own desires and roles in life at the same time. It's like, I don't know, like, the man's pure. Like, what can I say? Like, how can you hate this like adorable man who's like posting like, oh hey, I got a Stranger Things like costume and I'm wearing it. It's like, bless this man's heart, because he has like, and I want to cherish this man too, because he's like, he's almost 60. Like,
and we should cherish him. I would recommend as well, like, you know, if you're listening and you don't play video games and you don't know who Kojima is, you need to know who he is, and hopefully we've introduced him to you, because he's actually a very important artist in the 21st century. And I consider him an artist. And also his book is really good. So if nothing else, you will get to know him through his book, but also you'll get a whole heap of great recommendations too, I think. And so I would recommend the book. And it's really funny how, I was going to say this before, the translator like really gets his tone, like like it really sounds like him, like all the way throughout. Like, it's the same kind of affect that you get on the and cadence that you'll get on in his games, but also on his tweets and stuff like that. This book genuinely feels like one of the few chances we get to hear him. I mean, he can speak English. It's not great, but like, this is like one of the ways as a Westerner to like hear his voice in like a way that like is, you know, I don't know how many of the listeners are gamers, but like, this is one way to experience him. And I recommend his podcast too. It's like little bite-sized 30-minute episodes with like, you know, music. It's very normie core in that sense, but like, it's him. So it's like, I can't hate it.
Like, again, Kojima dick sucker, reporting live from the studio. Like, you know, I love this man so much because he embodies what I like to be, or I like to see myself. Like, he sees so many beautiful things in life, and he wants to experience it and he wants to share it. Like, I feel like I try to do that with my show, and I feel like you do that with your show, or any one of us, you know, podcasters, as you know, said in the hater tone, the dangerous podcasters. But like, I feel like we're kind of embodying his sensibilities, where it's like we experience something that is worthwhile and we want to share it to others. And I think, I don't know, like, it, again, I think I've said it many times, like, it's rare to see this type of person, especially in the day and age where it's like the internet is so filled with like irony poisoned people and people who just want to like moan and groan all day. It's just like, you have this like glowing bastion of a man who's like, here I am, and I'm going to tell you all the great things in life.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you hate him?
Yeah. How can you not love the guy? Yeah, I'd recommend the book. And even if you're not a gamer, like, at least play, probably, what would you recommend for like someone who's not a gamer to get? Death Stranding?
Actually,
I mean, that's a bit hard, isn't it? Because of the balance and all that sort of shit.
Death Stranding is the easiest to play of his game. Like, unfortunately, Metal Gear Solid is victim to, this is one of gaming's biggest unfortunate things, is that preservation has not been a forefront issue with gaming. So the best way to play most of like the Metal Gear games is to have a PlayStation 3. Like, because there's a collection that has Metal Gear 2, 3. I'm trying to remember. It's the Metal Gear Solid Legacy collection, and it has Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 and Peace Walker. It has Metal Gear Solid 4, and there should be a download code that you can download Metal Gear Solid 1. Okay. So like, you get pretty much almost, and you get like a few of the other Metal Gear games, like, all in this package. Like, but you have to buy a PS3.
Yeah.
Like, if you're someone who doesn't want a PS3, you could play the first 3 Metal Gear Solid games that way. You just get a PS2 and just play Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3 that way. Metal Gear Solid 5 is available on modern systems, so you can get that way. Unfortunately, Snatcher and Police Knots you just have to emulate it and get a fan patch to like translate it.
Or just watch it, like you said.
Yeah, or just watch it.
Watching Snatcher on YouTube is basically the same as playing it, like, because it's just a text game. Like, you choose.
Yeah. It's a visual novel where it's just like, oh, hey, I can like choose what I want to say. So if you can just watch it and you'll get the same effect. But yeah, if anyone listening to this wants to experience Metal Gear, the optimal way to play it, in my opinion, is through the PS3. But there are other options to be like a little bit more thrifty. It's just, but how much are you willing to invest in this?
Yeah.
And maybe by the end of this year, some of the Metal Gear games, hopefully, God willing, will be ported to modern systems, because Konami has a change of heart recently, and they actually remembered that they make games. So who knows? They might port the Metal Gear games to modern systems. But who knows? You know, that's legitimately one thing gaming has struggled with, is preserving its history.
So, Sam, did you have anything else to say about this book or this man? I know you could go on and on about this man if you wanted to, but any final thoughts?
Hideo Kojima has gotten the respect and the title that he has deservedly. It's not by accident or by people trying to prop him up in desperation to validate the medium. He has earned the title of auteur. His games are beautiful works of art that are unlike most, if not all, games in the medium. And the creative gene, I think is a great glimpse into his mind. I think, if you get a sense of who he is and what he inspires him. I think it's just time to put down the contrarian pitchforks and, sit your ass down and listen to an artist. That's my final words.
Beautifully put. I couldn't put it better myself. Yes. And also listen to Sam's beautiful podcast, The Third Place.
Oh,
which I'll be linking in the show notes. Thank you so much, Sam, for joining me today.
This has been an absolute joy. Thank you for having me on.
That was some good dick sucking. No teeth.
We get to the base.
Awesome.
We know how to give a good throat.
The throat goat.